I'm gonna show you how to make my easy 4-ingredient pulled pork. I've got my pork shoulder, which is also sold as like a pork butt, but it is the shoulder. Some of the fat, we trimmed it off a little bit here, but if you get that fat cap and you like fat, I mean, hold on to it, render it down, make some sauces with it, who knows. I'm just gonna build a really quick rub for it. I'm gonna add some salt to my bowl, a little bit of cumin. So now, when you're doing ingredient recipes and you're counting the ingredients, salt and seasonings like pepper don't count, oil doesn't count, but the cumin does. So we've got the pork, we've got the cumin, we've got the salt, add some pepper. I like to loosen this up so I can get some boulders, not snow. So this is gonna be a very simple rub of just salt, pepper, and the cumin. I'm gonna get some gloves on and get into the game plan here. Now, when I say rub, I mean it. Just get it up in there and rub it in. But it does have that time in the slow cooker to hang out unsupervised for hours. So a lot of the flavors will start to meld together. But look at how simple that is, huh? And listen, if you don't have cumin, you can always use like a steak seasoning or just go into your pantry and find something that you like that you think would be great with your pulled pork. Rub it. Okay, flip the baby over. Try not to make too much of a mess. Get some of that good old rub on the top. I'm gonna open up my slow cooker and get that in. I'm gonna show you how to make the sauce. Look at that bad boy. Now to that, salsa. Got a little bit of that cumin left over, get it in here. And our secret and fun ingredient, peanut butter. Listen, I just thought this up one day and thought maybe it would work. Tried it. It works, okay? Even my brain was like, I don't know. But it's rich. It's creamy. It adds a little nutty flavor. Peanut butter and meat actually does go very well together. And then look, just right into the bowl. Right in to the slow cooker. 4 ingredients. Already in there. All right, I'm gonna cover this up. 8 hours on high. I'm gonna set it. I'm not gonna forget it, okay? And in the meantime, I'm gonna chop up some scallions, clean up my stuff right here. Look at this. 8 hours on high, pulled pork on high. This is definitely like a put it in the slow cooker in the morning, and then at the end of the day, it's ready to go for you. So really a smart way to set it and kind of forget it. I always say it's not really like you're forgetting it. It smells so good. I'm just gonna go in here and get this out. Look how it jiggles. That lets you know it's ready to get pulled. Oh, come on. Come on. Come on, it's everything I can do not to eat that right there. All right, get some forks into the game plan and pull this pork. Now look how easy this is. 8 hours on high, 4 ingredients, salsa, the pork butt, peanut butter, and cumin. Salt and pepper, but those don't count. Look at this, look at how tender and juicy this is. Look at that, so easy, nice and shredded. Our pulled pork, look at that. Come on, look at that. Put that on the table with some tongs. Now, we are not done. All of this is delicious, but we're definitely gonna need some of this juice and sauce in here. Let me just get this all out. Come in here, you're gonna have to give it a nice stir at the end. Emulsify that fat. And then look at that. You can ladle some over the top. Let it cascade, or as Jeff likes to say, cascade. That's right. Come in here and get some of my mashed potatoes. See how cushy that was when I just digged in? Always go in for that second scoop. Can't help myself. And right over the top. 4 ingredients, perfection. Pulled pork. A little bit more of the sauce. Come on, because I love a good ladle of sauce. Luscious. Look at that, come on.
The only thing about a Caesar salad that I don't like is that it gets very like soggy and wilted fast. So what I found is using a Tuscan kale, which is nice and sturdy, will hold up that nice thick Caesar dressing and it won't get wilted. And it's easy to stem. Just pinch together the leaves at the bottom and scale it back. Leaf, stem. Give it a nice little bunch, squeeze it, and then slice thinly. Kale is very bitter, and a lot of people that I know don't like kale. Kale has a bad rap. It's all about how you work it. Just gotta give kale the opportunity to shine. So I've used about a pound or 2 bunches of kale. Now I'm gonna get started on my Caesar dressing. I love a good thick Caesar dressing. About a half a cup of mayo with dressings, especially like a Caesar dressing. I like to eyeball it. I mean, it's all about taste. About 2 tablespoons of olive oil, a few dashes of Worcestershire. It cuts through some of that creaminess and it adds a little bit of that salt flavor too. I've minced 3 cloves of garlic. Want to also add anchovies. Classic Caesar dressings have anchovies. If you're really funny about anchovies, you don't have to use them, but I like a good authentic Caesar dressing and I love anchovies. I'm gonna use about 2 fillets in here. And I like a very tangy Caesar dressing, so I'm adding the zest of 1 lemon and the juice of 1 lemon. And a liberal amount of freshly cracked black pepper. Half a cup of freshly shaved parm. I'm gonna add a little more to this. I want about a cup. You get that really nutty flavor. It's fresh cheese, I mean, you can't beat it. When I go to an Italian restaurant, they say, "Oh, ma'am, would you like some freshly grated cheese?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." And they'll come over and they'll grate and they'll say, "Okay, no. Keep going." So that's about a cup. Give it a whisk. Make sure the anchovies break down. All right, before I add any more salt, taste. Oh, it's tangy, it's cheesy, it's creamy. It has a nice little kick from that pepper. I don't need to add any more salt to this. The anchovies did the trick. Add my kale directly to the bowl. Use a tongue to mix it up. Oh, yeah.
We got some cranberry walnut bread, right? Right from the loaf. Fresh, right from the bakery.
Artisanal bread.
Beautiful. The first thing I like to do before I start building my grilled cheese, right? It may seem sacrilege, but I like to spread butter, room temperature butter on the outside. And how are we spreading this, kids?
Crust to
Crust to
crust.
crust.
Is a must, always, right? Just
That's
enough to
not
coat it.
controversial. Why is that? Because
Well, because some
do
people just
mayonnaise.
drop the butter in the pan.
Oh, okay, I've
right?
done
And then
that.
you burn up the butter, you brown half the butter or whatever. And this way you get all the butter you need, full coverage, right? So you get that golden brown crust that we all love to. So I'm gonna get going with this one, starting with some very sharp cheddar cheese. Right,
Okay.
love it. Now I'm holding it like this so I don't get the butter on the board. You see as I'm doing here? Next, you take 3 slices of Granny Smith
Thin
apples.
slice. And your bread, might I add, is thin sliced bread.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not
Beautiful.
regulation.
It's not regulation. Next, watch this. I'm just gonna kind of keep it like that. We got some of my favorite ingredient on the planet. Nice little kind of tang and heat you need with this. Some cherry pepper relish, right? So this is gonna go on this end. And we're gonna spread this ever so gingerly. Again, crust to crust. So every bite, you get a little, it packs that punch, right? Now, of course, this is not in a lot of grilled cheeses these days, but I'm putting it on mine since it is fall.
Add
the
it.
funkiest, the funnest melting cheese, a little Brie, 2 slices of that. And there you got the ingredients for the interior, right? We got the flavor inside that bread with the cranberries. So you got sweetness, you got spice, you got butter, you got sharp cheddar, you got funky Brie, you got spicy.
You know what else you got?
What else you got?
Qualified.
Oh! Look at this pan, right? And what temperature do we cook grilled cheeses at, right?
I'd do it medium
No.
high.
Medium low, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Okay?
'Cause you wanna melt that
This is
inside.
actually, I can already tell this is a little hot, right? So I don't want it to, so what happens, right? You end up toasting the exterior of the bread too quickly and the inside's still cold. And we really want all these flavors to melt. Brie is pretty hearty. I mean, it melts nice, but it needs a fair amount of heat. So this is going right on there. Gentle sizzle. And to help mimic that dome, like we do at the diner, we're just gonna do a nice little lid on this, right? And we're just gonna let it kind of very low, like medium low, almost touching low, okay? We're gonna flip it once, put the lid back on. How do we know it's done? The inside looks gooey. It looks ready to go. But another thing you can do to help expedite it, and I've done this in this pan, is that you could do it in 2 sections.
Yeah.
Right, so I just want to show you guys. It's not cheating, right? If you're doing 4 sandwiches, obviously do it this way. But if you're just doing 2 or 1, this way you can kind of get everything nice and toasty in the middle. So we can sit there.
Oh, look at that bread. Mmm.
Beautiful.
Burnt
Let this-
Edges.
That's it right there, right? So every great sandwich needs a great sauce or dipping thing. Yeah, so we got some great stone ground Dijon mustard. Add a little honey to this and just a little mayonnaise. Quick pantry pull right from the fridge, and you make a creamy honey Dijon, which also pairs so nice with this. And we could put this right in a little sidecar here so we could dip it in. Look at that.
I'll never forget, first time ever I had a grilled cheese with ketchup. It was in
Whoa.
Denmark.
Oh, I like a grilled cheese with ketchup. Yeah.
So good.
Wow.
I love a dip now.
Okay, I need a knife for this because we must.
So you can
cut
use
this.
other cheese that
Oh.
like manchego, mozzarella, Gouda.
Manchego would be great, Gruyere too, anything kind of nutty and hearty, right? But what I like about using both the Brie, it's got a totally different texture with the cheddar. Cheddar is it's a good melting cheese, but after a certain point, it kind of stops at that pullability, you know? So you get the flavor of the sharpness from the cheddar with the
I'll
funkiness.
tell you, you have a party and you've got leftover cheese from your cheese board. This is the perfect thing to make.
Beautiful. Oh man, this is gooey. This is gooey.
Oh, the spillet.
Look at the spillet. Look at
Pass
that.
that over here.
All right, who wants some?
I want some.
All right, I'm gonna plate it nice for you. I'm
I
gonna
want
give you a little.
those gooey bites.
Okay, we won't deny you that.
Oh.
Look at that. So easy. All right, you guys want to try it too, huh?
Qualify my palate, Jeff.
See, I'm putting this Brie bite right back on there. Oh, man.
I get so excited, don't I?
Yes.
I don't
so
get to make a
light.
lot of sandwiches here, so when I do, I like to really lay it
know,
on.
Jeff, it's so well balanced, having that kind of sweet tart apple on there, then the spicy relish kicks in, and the creamy,
I didn't make one for myself.
funky Brie, and the sharp cheddar, and then you've got the really good mustard honey sauce.
This is my spicy 5-ingredient spinach artichoke dip. Let's get started. So I've already got my 5 ingredients out and my oven is preheated to 375 degrees. Now, 5 ingredients: spinach, artichokes, whipped cream cheese with chives, sour cream, and shredded pepper jack cheese, okay? That's all we need to make this dish. I've got my pan. I'm gonna turn it on and get it ready to go because we're gonna saute some of this baby spinach. We've got a nice jar here of my artichoke hearts. I've got them marinated in oil because it's, you know, when you're doing 5 ingredients, you really need each ingredient to come with more than just one flavor profile if you can. It needs to come in and pack a punch. So if you can see right here, all that flavor that's going on in here, I'm just gonna drain it out. And I'm gonna maximize my ingredients. That flavorful marinade that's in there, I'm gonna use some of that to cook my spinach. So about 3 tablespoons. I know I'm holding on to my measure, but about 3 tablespoons. And then I've got a big old, what we like to call in the business, the clam shell of love. It's baby spinach. You get more than you think that you're gonna need. Same thing with mushrooms because it cooks down really, really fast. And what I like to do is just kind of get it in batches because then you can kind of work it around and make sure everything hits that heat and starts to wilt for you. And you'll start to see it get really, really, really bright, you know, just kind of like as if you're blanching it. And then all of a sudden it starts to wilt. You got a little bit more room. As soon as you start seeing some space in the pan, you can start adding some more. Now, also smart to hit it with a little bit of salt. That doesn't count in the ingredient count. Salt and pepper and usually like the fat, you know, if it's like olive oil or something. But I decided not to use olive oil. I mean, we've got the oil in there that's marinating the artichoke hearts. When I was growing up, my mom used to always have these soirees at the house, and she wouldn't make like artichoke dip. She would just get like the real raw artichoke, slice it in half, broil it, deliciousness. All right, more in. See, we're so healthy. We're gonna eat all the spinach. All right, so I'm gonna move this around. A little bit more salt helps wilt it down. Plus, we like to season every layer. I used to go crazy in the produce section, making sure everything is like pre-washed. I'm like reading those labels like crazy, so make sure you read the label. All right, so we've got our artichoke hearts while we're waiting on everything to wilt down there. I'm just gonna give them a nice chop. Just come in and be random. Gonna mix it all in together with the other ingredients, our cream cheese, a little shredded pepper jack. And I do that because like I said, few ingredients, they gotta come through with a flavor profile. Boom. All right, so I'm gonna get these into my bowl. Coincidentally, if you didn't know, artichokes, super delicious and tasty, but the center of an artichoke is called the heart. It's the meaty center. It has like a rich, deep taste. All right, so now look at our spinach. It's getting to the point where we don't want it to burn or get dark brown and oxidize. And every once in a while, I'll even chop it down a little bit, but this is baby spinach, so right into the bowl with those artichokes. Get that in there. I'm gonna add 8 ounces of whipped chive cream cheese. I used to use, regular cream cheese, but whipped cream cheese is just what it sounds like. They've aerated it, so it's a lot softer, and you don't have to do that whole defrosting thing and leave it on the counter so it becomes pliable. It just comes right out and ready to mix into your recipes. All right, a little bit of sour cream. A 1/4 cup of sour cream is going in. And then our final ingredient, which is 8 ounces of pre-shredded pepper jack cheese. Got a little bit of fire in there from the pimento. Just come in and just mix it all up. Hit it with a little bit of pepper if you feel like it. I'm starting to smell the artichokes. Now remember, the oven is at 375 degrees. This is gonna take around 20 minutes. So 375 is what I've got the oven at. I've got my little serving dishes here. Now you can use an 8x8, you can do ramekins. This all just depends on the party you're throwing, you know what I'm saying? You can double this and make a big old 9x11. I'm gonna clean that up. But this gets in. Try and be even. And then I'm just gonna use a spoon to level off everything. It's okay if some of that hangs over the edge because, when it comes to the table at the restaurant, it's like bubbling and a couple of pieces of cheese are like burnt. That's the good stuff, you know what I'm saying? All right, remember the pepper jack cheese? It's getting double usage here. A little over the top. It's about 4 ounces. And I always say to myself, an ounce is like a slice. So it's like 4 slices of cheese, no big deal. NBD. Okay, 375 in the oven till it starts to get nice and bubbly around the edge. If you feel like it's not golden brown at the top, you can also throw the broiler on for a few minutes to get that curb appeal that you want. Getting it in the oven. Meet me back here when your dip is ready. Ooh, it's piping hot. When they bring it to the table, they're like, don't touch it. It's really, really hot. It's like, we know that. I want to burn the roof of my mouth with this stuff. All right, I love serving this with tortilla chips, just like at the restaurant. If you want, you can put your tortilla chips in the oven on warm. That's anywhere from 150 to 200 for like 5 to 10 minutes. Just when you start seeing them glisten and the oils are coming to life on the inside. Let me dig up in here. What? Ooh, I like it when the chip breaks. It lets you know it is talking business in there. Look at that. Piping hot goodness. I'm gonna burn my roof of my mouth.
There's a couple of different steps here. We need some Idaho potatoes. Obviously, we need some salmon. We need some mustard, some lemon, and then some fresh herbs and some olive oil. And then you need something to cook it in. This is an earthenware dish called the cazuela. If you don't have something like this, you can cook it in any kind of vessel that is oven-proof safe, okay? So first things first, we're gonna get going with our potatoes. So I'm gonna peel the potatoes. And I know a lot of people have questions out there about whether you should peel the potatoes or not. You don't have to peel the potatoes as long as you wash them well. But I just think from a presentation standpoint, it just kind of looks really, really nice and clean. But again, like when I was growing up, my mother used to say to me, like, all the vitamins are in the skin. I don't even know if that's true. I think she just wanted me to eat the skin. So who knows? But as a kid, like, you don't want to eat the skin on the potatoes usually. You want all the skin off. So we'll take the skin off. It's totally fine. All right. So I'm going to slice these up very thinly. And we're going to roast these first in the cazuela. You want them to be about that thick. I don't know how to measure that. It's probably like 1/8 of an inch. But you know, don't drive yourself crazy. This is a very rustic dish. This is a terrific fish dish when the the weather is starting to turn a little bit, like, you know, kind of early fall into the winter. And so, like, the potatoes can be a little bit hearty. And they're gonna roast anyway, so they're gonna get nice and soft. So we're gonna take a little bit of canola oil. And then we're just gonna put the potatoes basically to cover the entire dish. All right, then we're gonna put a little salt and pepper on top of there. Just a tiny bit more oil. All right, so we're gonna preheat your oven at 400 degrees, okay? So we're gonna start out with sort of a higher heat, and then we're gonna slowly cook the salmon later after the potatoes are 3/4 of the way done. So we're gonna start at 400 degrees, put this in our oven. Let that cook, and then while that's cooking for about 15 minutes, we can actually start to prep the rest of our dish. We're gonna make our sauce, which is basically an uncooked sauce. It's like a salad dressing almost. Some Dijon mustard, some lemon, and a little bit of olive oil and some fresh herbs. So we're gonna put some Dijon mustard in the bowl, and then a little bit of lemon juice, freshly squeezed lemons. This is gonna work as your acidity. I mean, obviously, you know, fish and lemons are always good together. And as you know, I like to season every single component of my dishes, so you wanna put a little salt and pepper in there as well. And the Dijon mustard is gonna act obviously as a flavor component, but it's also going to help to thicken your vinaigrette or your sauce. It works as an emulsifier. So we're gonna take some olive oil, and we're just gonna slowly add a little olive oil to the mustard and the lemon juice. And if you want to, you can emulsify. You can see it sort of coming together. But if it separates, it doesn't matter. Don't even worry about it for 1 second. Because once you pour it over the salmon, and the salmon is warm, it's probably gonna separate a little bit anyway, so it's totally fine. And then I like to put some fresh herbs in here as well. So we have some fresh thyme. A little bit of parsley. And we can coarsely chop them. We can use some more herbs with some garnish later, but this is just gonna go right into the dressing. I just like when you have like these vinaigrettes that you can use, like not just for salads, but for sauces as well. And then you put it over something warm, like when the salmon comes out. And when you pour the room temperature sauce over the warm salmon, it just kind of it just kind of brightens up the flavor of the sauce itself. All right, so I have some potatoes cooking in here already. I just want to show you this. Beautiful, right? You can see the potatoes are, you know, they're getting a little bit brown around the edges, but the most important thing is that they're nice and soft, that they're cooked through. So now we have our potatoes cooked, and the cazuela is still warm. So I'm just gonna take a salmon fillet, skin off, right? Just put it right on top of the potatoes, just like that. A little canola oil on top. And then some salt and pepper. And this is like, to me, this becomes the coolest part of the dish, which is the fact that now, like, as I said, the salmon is gonna cook really slowly. It's almost gonna be like, it's gonna transform from this bright orange color. It's gonna sort of become this pale orange color, and it's because the fat that's running all through the salmon is gonna melt really slowly, and basically create this really silky piece of fish. And to me, that's the key to this whole thing. It's just the texture of this is amazing. It's the best way, in my opinion, to eat salmon, and it's really easy because once you put it in the oven, that's all you have to do. All right. So we're gonna put it in the oven now. We take our oven from 400 to 250. I'm gonna turn this to 250. And another 15 minutes, we should be good to go. Salmon cooks, the juices come out of the salmon, becomes part of the potatoes, and you serve the cazuela with the potatoes, the salmon. I'm gonna show you how we sauce it. You serve it right in front of your guests. So it's basically done. You don't even have to plate it anymore. Presentation is done for you. So here's what it looks like. You can see how the color has changed on the salmon. Look at that. And it's just cooked through. Smells so good. So we're gonna take our sauce and just pour a little sauce right on top. And I also wanna put some of the sauce right on top of the potatoes as well. You know, just kinda, you know, don't overdo it, but this sauce works with the entire dish. Now, I'm gonna take a little bit of fresh thyme, just drop some of the fresh thyme on top of the salmon. Thyme and potatoes, mustard, all goes really well together. Tear some parsley leaves. There you go, done. If you want to, you can take a little bit of lemon zest, why not, right? I always say, like, the more lemon, the better, especially when it comes to fish. And as I said, like, it's ready to serve because it's already in a beautiful serving dish.
My chicken schnitzel is juicy fried chicken that's pounded extra thin, so it's really, really crispy. Gonna be awesome. Okay, so we are pounding out our chicken breast so that it's really thin so that it gets extra crispy. Once it's about like a quarter inch, you just want it as thin as possible without it breaking. So once it's that thin, then we can get onto the braiding. Okay, these are pounded perfectly. Let's get on to breading. Okay, we're gonna set up a dredging station. We're gonna get flour in this pan. And then do you wanna crack 4 eggs into this pan?
Okay.
Okay, so the chicken is going to get coated in flour, dunked in egg, and then coated in panko breadcrumbs, which will make it really, really crunchy. Do you want to whip up the eggs with a splash of water? That just makes it easier to coat. And then I'm just gonna add some paprika to the breadcrumbs and then season them with salt and pepper. It's gonna be so good. So we just take a piece of chicken and get it evenly coated in the flour. And this is gonna help the egg stick. And just make sure that it's all covered in the egg because that is gonna help the crunchy breadcrumbs stick.
And we want maximum breadcrumb adherence.
Yes, exactly. I have some flavorless oil heating up on the stove. And I'm gonna gently transfer it right in here. And these are getting fried at 360 for a couple of minutes on each side until they're golden brown. Yes. Let me flip it. Okay, look at this gorgeous golden color.
Oh my gosh. That
This
looks
is
good.
Yeah, this is a beautiful schnitzel. Okay, I'm gonna transfer it to a wire rack, and this is going to keep it crispy. And then I'm just gonna sprinkle it with a little salt and pepper. And now these can hold in a warm oven so that they stay hot until our friends arrive. And then I'll hold these in the oven at 250 to keep them crispy until my friends get here. For the finishing touch, I'll sprinkle them with some parsley. And now schnitzel needs a fresh squeeze of lemon, so I'm gonna garnish with some lemon wedges. It adds necessary brightness to a piece of fried chicken.
All right, I've got 2 pounds of breakfast sausage, and I just tore it into small pieces, threw it in a big skillet, and I'm just browning it up, and I'll use this to make the gravy. This gravy is so wonderful. It's really creamy and really thick, and it has little chunks of sausage all throughout. So, so good. So now I'll sprinkle in a little flour. I'll start with about 1/3 cup, and I'm just gonna make the gravy right on the top of the sausage. A lot of times when I make sausage gravy, I'll fry patties of sausage, take it out of the skillet, and then use the grease to make the gravy. But I love this method because you just keep it all in the skillet. It's a lot less work. Okay, now I'll stir this in. I want the flour just to completely coat the sausage, sort of becomes one, and I'll stir it around. It's always been a little difficult for me to give an exact recipe for gravy because there's so much eyeballing that's required. I just sort of look at it, and if it seems like it needs a little more flour, I just sprinkle it in. Okay, this looks perfect. The flour has pretty much disappeared into the sausage. So I'll grab the milk. I'm using whole milk just to make it extra rich and creamy. I'm gonna start with a good 5 or 6 cups. I used quite a bit of flour, so it's gonna thicken up. Stir it around. Now I'm gonna turn up the heat a little bit and let this start bubbling away. I really predict not a drop of this is gonna be left. The gravy is gorgeously thick. It looks just perfect, so I'm gonna season it up. I'll just add a little bit of salt. I don't wanna add too much until I have a chance to taste it. Plenty of black pepper. There's a lot of pepper in this meal. And then just a little bit of seasoned salt to give it extra flavor. Now I'll stir that around. It looks unbelievably wonderful. I could eat it by the spoonful.
Fried bologna sandwich.
It's a good sandwich.
So I'm starting off with my bologna here. You can look for the nitrate-free bologna.
Okay.
They
Yeah,
make
well,
those now.
I like nitrates.
I'm using a pork bologna. I like the flavor that's in it. My grandpa was the king of bologna sandwiches. He made them so good. Now, he always cut a little X in the center. You know, cutting slits in the bologna, it helps it not curl up. So you get all those
Center X.
nice crispy edges. And I'm just gonna put a little butter on
Oh, you
it.
need butter, man.
Really
you gotta have butter,
expensive
right?
these days, butter. I
Yep,
don't know.
and then I'm gonna just throw my bologna right on there.
Jeff, I gotta tell you, every time Katie dips into Grandpa's repertoire,
Does well. She does well.
she comes through with fire. So I know you started strong, but she might
Listen,
be the finisher,
I guess
the
if
strongest finisher in the game.
If I get beaten by, someone who did their shopping at a gas station,
Whoa,
then
whoa,
I guess I deserve it.
Whoa.
All right, guys, so there's a lot of debate. Some people like to do yellow mustard on
That's
their
right.
bologna. Other people like mayonnaise. So I'm doing both on this
Whoa,
sandwich.
that's radical.
Yeah, one side of the bologna sandwich is gonna have the mayo, the other side is gonna have yellow mustard. And in my opinion, it needs to be yellow mustard. None of this fancy Dijon stuff going on. I just want the old school, I want that vinegary, acidy taste.
A gas station mustard.
Okay.
It's from the pack, from the, is this
Look
from?
at-
Oh my God, yes,
Oh, my
Katie.
Lord.
Here we go. And I'm just gonna throw some
On that, oh
cheese
my
right
God.
on there.
Yeah, I think I invented this move.
Yeah, let's
sure.
get
Season
our
2 of
cheese
sandwich.
going.
How is Katie not fatter? Genetics? Genetics.
All right, I'm gonna just mush this all up here.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, she's doling it!
Got a Sandwich King skills implemented here in your
All right.
sandwich construction. I'm just saying.
Jeff invented sandwiches too.
Oh.
All right, so here we go.
This is crazy. You know, it was
Build
so
a
crazy.
sandwich.
If I made this, the hood would not let me come back to the hood.
Why?
Because this is legit real. This is cooking for real right here on the kitchen, y'all.
Now I'm gonna take some barbecue potato chips to give us a little texture. Like so.
A lot
You know
of.
when you have the barbecue potato chips on the side and you take a bite and you take a bite? Now I'm gonna add some shredded iceberg lettuce.
Totally.
Give it a little bit more crunch.
She's throwing you under the bus here.
I love it.
Here. All
going
right,
she's going
and
right at
now
you.
for the key ingredient.
bologna
Have you
bus.
guys ever heard of chow chow?
Yes.
I have, yes, yeah.
All right, so chow chow, there's a northern version, a southern version. Northern version has more veggies in it. Southern version is mostly cabbage and some peppers. There's sweet or there's hot. I'm using the sweet. It's like a relish, so there's a good amount of acid in here that's gonna go great with that fat of the bologna. And we always had a jar of chow chow. Sometimes my grandma would make it homemade. You can buy it in the store, you can buy it online. But this is great, like, on a piece of grilled fish, on a piece of grilled chicken, on your roast beef like Jeff had.
Hey,
It's
listen,
kind of like a southern...
Leave my beef out of it.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
This
That's, Jeff,
is
this
so
is
crazy.
I'm just
very
gonna kinda-
impressive.
Yep.
Ugh.
Honey? Let me know what you think about
Look
that.
at this. You see how I flipped it to get to
saw
the
that.
right
Yeah,
bite,
that's
right?
not a. That's.
I'm learning from you.
I'll be highly impressed if the white bread gets stuck on the roof of my mouth.
Oh.
West Virginia in the house.
Oh, wow.
I love the chips, perfectly fried bologna. You need a little bit more crunch with the lettuce, plus your Katie Lee, so you gotta come through with a little bit of redeeming health, right? This tastes like childhood for me. Like I still got a piece of bread right here. This is delicious.
Chicken with croutons works for a crowd or a simple lunch, like today when my friend Anna shows up. Now I'm gonna stuff the inside with lemon. Just put them right inside. It's gonna have really good flavor. Salt, pepper, and into the pan. Great, so I'm gonna roast it at 425 degrees for about an hour and 15 minutes until it's just perfectly done. And then I'm gonna saute bread croutons. And when the chicken is roasted, I'm gonna slice it over the croutons so it just absorbs all that gorgeous chicken juice and flavors. So for the croutons, I'm gonna use a sourdough bread like this. You can get them all over the country, but it reminds me so much of those wonderful breads from Pauline Bakery that I love in Paris. Nothing like roast chicken to make the house smell good. So I'm just gonna cover this with foil. That gets all the juices back into the meat and makes it really moist. About 15 minutes. Which is just enough time to make the croutons. So, croutons. Just gonna slice the bread in big cubes. I think half a loaf is enough for 2 people. And I don't mind it with the crust on. If you prefer it without the crust, just cut it off. But I love the earthy way it looks. It's a great way to use up leftover bread. Just a little film of oil in the pan. Get it really hot. And then just put all the bread cubes in. I want them in one layer. Just saute them, medium heat. Just keep turning them until they're nice and browned on all sides. And then when I slice the chicken over the bread cubes on the platter, all that gorgeous juice from the chicken and the lemon is gonna get into the cubes. It's gonna be really good. You can really do this with any kind of bread, like a baguette or sourdough bread or a big white bread. Just make sure it's really good bread. But now I have to get lunch ready. Serious stuff. So I'm just gonna cut this up, put it right on top of the croutons. And then all the juices from the chicken are gonna get into the croutons. You can smell all the lemon, the chicken juices. For the breast, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it all off in one piece and then slice it. And that way everybody gets a little bit of the meat and a little bit of the skin. I'm just gonna put the roasted lemons on the platter too. And the beans I blanch for about 3 minutes. And then I have the roasted vegetables. Just put them right on top. Okay, while that's heating up, I'm gonna get the shallots in the bowl. Look how gorgeous and brown, caramelized these are. Oh, they're gonna be so good with the chicken. Everything's ready for lunch. Anna, lunch is ready.
Pancetta is bacon, but it's not smoked. Right here, that's the bacon. If we unravel this, we can. If we unravel this, that's the pork belly right there. The Italians make it look a lot cooler. So what we've done is ask for about a 1/4 inch. We're gonna go ahead and give it about the same 1/4 inch, well, maybe a 1/2 inch. Give it a little cut. The colder this pancetta is, the easier it's gonna be to work with. When it starts getting a little warm, it starts getting a little slick, it starts sliding around. So carbonara, what is it again? So it's pancetta, egg yolks, little parsley, and some great pasta, and that's just about it, folks. When you start seeing peas in it, when you start seeing heavy cream added to it, you're not really having carbonara. I think this is about as close to traditional as you'll find. I could be screwing something up, but this is the way we make it, okay? So I've got a pan here, diced up that pancetta. I don't want to be too hot when I go into the pan. So we're just gonna let this go medium to low heat. If we get this too hot too fast, we're not gonna render that fat out. We're gonna use that fat in the dish, but most importantly is we want that pancetta to be nice and crispy. Okay, pancetta's working, rendering down nicely. Hot water, boiling water, screaming water. This water's gotta be going. And how much water are we looking for? Come on, I'm gonna ask you at home. I know you're checking your phone right now. It's a gallon of water to a tablespoon of salt. This is where we miss it so often. People go like this, and I'm not kidding you, I watch it all the time. Okay, we're salted. No way. This is getting salted, okay? I don't eat pasta like I used to, but I'll tell you what, when we're gonna do it right. We're gonna use the right amount of water, we're gonna salt it the right way, and we're gonna use great pasta. And the pasta we're gonna use is called bucatini, okay? Bucatini is spaghetti with a hole in the middle. Right there. I'm gonna tell you a statement that we use all the time, and that is pasta waits for no one. I want this sauce done, I want this ready to go, and then I'll drop my pasta. And the reason is, as long as it's hot and as long as it has moisture, it's gonna continue to cook. And the deal is, overcooked pasta, nothing could be worse. We know how to cut the onion, right? Simple little method, cut off the top. That's where the onion grew from. That's the belly button of the onion. If you keep this onion together, it's gonna make it a lot easier to dice. Now, make sure we peel down deep enough into that onion because that one layer that you don't go and grab, like this one right here, it's like shoe leather. You can cut it up all you want, it's never gonna break down. Get that real nice, tender, juicy inside of the onion. We'll cut through here. This is gonna give us the chance to almost have it pre-diced. Look at it, make sure it's uniform. We want that onion to really disappear into this dish. Let's get into the pasta. There's a lot going on in the world of pasta. There's great pastas, there's cheap pastas. Why does one cost a bunch and one cost a little? I want you to look at the pasta here real quick. And it's got kind of this dry texture to it, almost kind of like it's handmade. I want you to spend the money. You're gonna notice that when you cook this pasta, it's gonna take it longer to cook. It's gonna be harder. You're gonna be mixing it in here and you're like, why is this thing so hard? Because it's the way the pasta's dried. When the pasta gets a chance to really naturally dry, it's gonna lose more of its moisture. The more moisture that's out of it, the drier the pasta is, the longer it takes to reconstitute or rehydrate, okay? So the bucatini, water's boiling. We're gonna go in. Now this is where it gets critical, folks. I'm not ready, because my pancetta's not ready. Hang on a second. And I've got this slotted spoon so I can pull the pancetta. Let me let that pancetta continue to work. Let me get into my eggs real quick. I got a lot of moving parts here. It's simple, but it's super important to follow the rules with this. The eggs. So we're gonna go, the better the egg. When we have the eggs from the chicken coop, the organic eggs, I mixed that up, I went backwards, but it's all right. Egg yolks. The better, if you can find really dynamite organic eggs where those yolks are just golden, orange, it's just gonna make you better carbonara. Get the whites out, more yolks the better. And you know I'm not an egg fan, right? But I'll tell you something, the one time that they really do work is for this and for Caesar dressing. All right, take a look at this. Nice, crispy, beautiful pancetta. I should probably taste that just in the name of science. Yeah, it's gonna be fine. Still tender, not too crispy. Let that fat sit at the bottom of the pan. And why am I doing this? Because I want to reserve that fat. Now, this isn't the same kind of fat, the same kind of flavor that you get from bacon. This isn't nearly as smoky. This is actually a little bit saltier. And I can't, why did I not put the onions in right now? Because I don't want to waste my crispiness. You know, I'll tell you something. I remember when I first got on the Food Network, someone walked up to me and said, hey, when you do a cookbook, can you make sure that the recipes are real? And I said, what does that mean? They said, well, I bought some of those cookbooks from some of the famous chefs. And, oh, look who just showed up. Hi, Smokey. Said, I bought one of those cookbooks, and I don't know that the recipe was that real. And I said, well, what happened? Well, I did this, and I did this. I said, wait a second, did you follow the steps, or did you just add all the ingredients? Yeah, I don't know ingredients. I mean, why do you have all the steps? They make it a lot harder that way. I said, because that's the whole process. You shortcut this, you put those onions in with that pancetta right now, you're gonna sog up that pancetta, all that moisture coming in from the onion. And we get to use that delicious fat. All right, so we're gonna let the onions sweat a little bit. Let me give that a touch of salt. Gotta watch the salt content of this. You're gonna have salt. I'm gonna help this to pull some of the moisture out of the onions, but let's watch it. We got a lot of salt in the pancetta. Not all pancetta is the same, all right? So you get that pancetta that's super salty, your dish is gonna be salty. Plus, we have my favorite cheese, Parmigiano Reggiano. This is from Parma, Italy. This is the bomb. Hunter and I were in Italy together, and when we went through Parma, we went and actually made Parmesan cheese. Going to cheese heaven. This is it, man. This is the key. Again, when I talk about critical basics, really good eggs, really good Parmesan cheese, really good bucatini, really good pancetta. Do it the right way, and you're gonna have a rock star dish. I get a little cracked black pepper. All right, we're gonna drop pasta. Still boiling water. You start potatoes in cold water and bring them to a simmer. But why do we start pasta with boiling water and drop it in? Well, the potato we're cooking from the inside out, and we're cooking this big potato. On this pasta, we are literally cooking from the outside in, and we're gonna get right to the inside of the pasta where it just has a little bit of bite to it, and what we call al dente, dente tooth, Latin, I guess. But that is the key, is the pasta waits for no one. This is all ready to go. We'll drop the pasta. Remember, we salted it with a tablespoon of salt. No, there's no breaking the pasta. Take a look right here. This is starting to cook, and this is sitting out. We spent a little bit of time, that first 30 seconds, and get in here and work this around and make sure that everybody's in the pool. You also notice that I have the strainer inside of the pot. It gives us a chance to pull the pasta immediately, not have to go to the sink and do all that, but it also retains that pasta water, which is gonna be super critical in the finale of this dish because we're not gonna add cream to it, and we have to have some other body, some other medium to work with to make this nice and creamy, and it's gonna be that pasta water. One of the things I always say about cooking, you gotta be present. When you're here doing this isn't time to check your email. Anything gets off, we burn those onions or over-caramelize them. We overcook that pasta, we overcook this pancetta, anything. There's only a few spokes in this wheel of the bike going to Flavor Town, all right? So we can't mess that up. We gotta stay with it. Onions are almost done. Our pasta's just about finished. I've got some of this Parmigiano Reggiano, really nicely grated. We're gonna mix that in to the eggs, and then we're gonna temper the eggs into this mixture with the onions. And when I say temper it, we gotta go in nice and slow, otherwise we're gonna make ourselves an omelet, and that's not what we want. This is where it gets kind of, not iffy, but you really gotta be on top of this. Onions are beautiful. Take a look at that pasta, and I'm on that pasta all day long. I can tell by when I start pulling it out of the pot whether or not we're there. Just a little white dot in the center of it. Take my gonna go into a mixing bowl. Now, why into the mixing bowl and not into the pan? I want to show you a method that I think is going to be a little bit more helpful to you, because if you go into this pan and it's super, super hot, you have a real good chance of cooking these eggs. So now I'm going to take my onions with the pancetta fat right in there. I've got my eggs done with my Parmesan cheese, and I am mixing this as fast as I can to keep this from setting up on me and turning into an omelet. Oh, I am telling you, you're gonna love this. A little bit more of the egg. Can't have really enough egg in this. Did you ever think you'd hear that from me? Now, as we say, and as I've learned forever, pasta is not a castle, so it should not sit in a moat of sauce. We are amalgamating all those beautiful onions, that Parmesan cheese, and those eggs, and it should just be sticking right to that pasta with that cheese. Oh. Fortunately, I'm so quick with the knife, I won't have to worry about this. Should have my parsley prepped out. I want to add a little color to this. It really needs it, and that little herbaceousness. That pasta was retaining some water, but you could see how it started to dry up a little bit. Just a touch of water, not a bunch. It's gonna rehydrate. What's gonna do is it's gonna let that creaminess of that cheese wake back up. Just give myself a little serving of this. I want you to see how golden. Nest the pasta when we put it down and stand it up a little bit. Grab some of the bits from the bottom. Is your mouth watering yet? Mine is. Okay. Touch more of that cheese. And you know the great thing about this, and we do this a lot for Christmas, is we serve in courses. And I'll serve pasta just like that, a small, little, beautiful portion. Let me show you the right way to get into this pasta, by the way. We don't use these spoons. Once you grab the edge of that fork, grab about 2 strands, and I want you to bring that pasta right over here to the side. And you can tell it's al dente the way it kind of sweeps that plate. It's simple, it's basic, and it's tons of flavor.